welcome to a new vlog and video, and today we're taking a look at day 5 on board of the Costa Toscana. We are docking in Civitavecchia and we're of course heading for Rome, and then we're heading back to Civitavecchia and we're continuing on sailing to our next destination, which then will be Savona. We're starting early in the morning again because I wanted to leave the ship as early as possible to make sure to return on time, because I didn't book any excursion. I wanted to go to Rome on my own, and therefore I decided it's the best idea to start as early as possible. So I went to breakfast as early as possible, and then I watched the ship going into the port of Civitavecchia, which is the port of Rome. Still quite far away, so you need to take a train for around an hour to get to Rome. You can also book an excursion, of course, to Rome. There are multiple excursions there, some of them by bus. Costa also offers a chartered train to Rome, but I decided to do it on my own. As you can see, there are a lot of ships in Civitavecchia, a lot of ferries, because as I said, it's the port of Rome. You can even see some small fishing boats, so it's a quite interesting port. But as I've been here the first time, of course, I'm doing the obvious thing to do in Civitavecchia, and that is going to Rome. As soon as it was possible, I left the ship and headed into the cruise terminal. The cruise terminal is quite far away from the city center, so you need to have some kind of transfer to the city center. I used the public bus. There is a bus available. It's not free, but it's working pretty good. I didn't have to wait at all. The bus was quite full, but that was no problem at all, so in my case that worked very well, and the bus will bring you directly to the station, and from there you have a lot of trains going directly to Rome. And we will take a look at a train ride in the next video. We are jumping directly to Rome, and I'm immediately leaving the city, and I'm even leaving the country, because I'm going into Vatican City, which of course is a known country. So I've just crossed a border and I'm now in a Vatican City. Of course you can just easily cross the border without any checks, as long as there is no event, of course. But in my case that was no problem. But if you want to go into the St. Peter's Basilica, you need to leave the Vatican City again and go into the country again. You're a separate entrance, and there you have a control and a checkup like at an airport. So that's of course much stricter, but it's worth it because the entrance is free, and this is one of the biggest churches in the world and one of the most impressive buildings I've ever seen. So it doesn't matter if you're a religious person or not, and it doesn't matter what your religion is. Just because of the architecture, it's already worth it going into this building. It's a very, very impressive church. The capacity of around 20,000 people that can go inside of this church at the same time. The most impressive thing for me is the dome, which has a height of 136 meters. The tallest dome in the world. Very, very impressive to see. Of course you can spend the whole day in this church. There's so much to see, and if you're into religion or into architecture, of course you can spend hours here and always discover new things. But as I just wanted to see it, and I'm today doing a very touristy Rome in 4 or 5 hours tour on my own, I just left after a few minutes and continue my tour down the boulevard, heading to the river Tiber, crossing the river and heading into the city center of Rome. And then walking through a very beautiful small alley until I reach the Piazza Navona. One of the big famous squares of Rome, and there you have some nice fountains. I like the Fontana dei Quattro Fiumi. From there it's just a short walk over to the Pantheon, also a very famous old Roman church, but I didn't go inside because for this church you need to pay a fee, and there was also quite a long queue. Just a couple of meters on there is a former Roman temple, the Hadrianeum. Again, just across the street we have the Galleria Alberto Sordi, a shopping center which is looking, as you can see, extremely beautiful, also worth a visit. From there I then continued on to the Spanish Steps. So As you see, I'm visiting all the famous sites of Rome in one day, and I'm doing that all by walking. I calculated it in the end, I walked about 10 kilometers. Almost without a break, just to take a few pictures. Here we can see the Spanish Steps. Officially it's not allowed to sit down on the steps. They're doing some checks there and you can get a hefty fine. So I would not recommend sitting down there. I was just walking up the steps and then back down. And now we're already at one of the most famous sites, the Trevi Fountain, one of the most visited sites of Rome. And I want you to keep in mind that I was traveling in February. That is completely off season, and you see how many people there were. That was insane, and I don't even want to know how it looks in July or August there. I then walked onto the Monumento a Vittorio Emanuele, which is also very, very impressive. Huge size, so that's quite impressive building. I then continued to the Piazza del Campidoglio. Unfortunately there every building was under construction, so I straight away continued, but from behind that piazza you have a fantastic view over the Forum Romanum, which is an archaeological excavation site where you can see countless Roman buildings. It's very, very interesting. Also here you could spend at least one day if you're into history or architecture, but I was walking just past it to see it. And of course there is another very famous site that I need to see, and that of course is the Colosseo. As you can see, there are also hundreds and thousands of tourists around it. Of course I didn't go inside because that would take way too long. I just wanted to see the building itself. And then I'm now continuing on. Next stop was the church Santa Maria Maggiore, which is the church where Pope Francis has his grave now. When I was traveling to Rome, he was still alive. After the church, I arrived at Roma Termini, the main station of Rome. There I had a glass of Aperol Spritz as a reward for my quite exhausting walking tour of around 10 kilometers, and then I took the train back to Civitavecchia. We will see that in an upcoming video as well. I then took the bus back to the ship. Also that worked very well. I didn't have to wait at all, and it was working very, very well. And here we are back at the cruise terminal, and now I'm heading back on board of the Costa Toscana. The restaurants were already closed because it was after lunchtime, of course, even though I was coming back quite early to be sure to not miss the ship. Of course, Italian trains sometimes can be delayed or be cancelled, so I took an early one. And then I went into the only open restaurant, and that was the Osteria. Here you can see this concept of a flying buffet. The waiters are coming with those plates and you can just say if you want to have it or not. It is quite a nice concept, but it's working better if you're not alone because the size of the plates is pretty big, so it's intended for all people on the table to share. So it was a bit too much for a single person, but it was still a quite nice concept and it worked way better than with the breakfast. Here we are leaving Civitavecchia on our way to our next stop in Savona. Unfortunately, at this moment I was quite angry because Costa changed my table the second time. First time they changed it immediately after the first day, that was no problem. Same restaurant, same timing, just a different table number, doesn't matter. But now they gave me a new dining time. They changed me from the second seating to the first seating. I tried to call reception, they said I need to speak to a restaurant manager. I tried to call them, but it didn't work at all. I couldn't reach anyone and I was pretty angry, so I decided to go for sushi instead of going to the restaurant because dining time was way too early for me. But the sushi was very nice, and in the end the day still ended very nicely because we were visiting another sea destination. This time we were reaching a whale sanctuary. Of course we cannot see the whales in the night, but there was a presentation in the outdoor theater projected on the stairs, and that was very, very nice, of course, with a lot of explanation about marine life. It was done very, very nicely. You learned a lot of things. Of course you need to take the headphones to get it in your language, but also the visuals were amazing. There was a light show and it was just a magical atmosphere and I really enjoyed that. So those sea destinations, as I said, are not just a marketing gag, they are actually a good idea, and I really love the idea of also making days at sea or the evenings on board interesting and tell a bit more about the ocean. So I really enjoyed the idea, and as you can see it was looking amazing. It was a beautiful moment, and also the other passengers loved it because we can now listen to the reaction of the people after the show. And that's already it for day 5 on board of the Costa Toscana. I hope you enjoyed the video. Here you can see when the next one will be uploaded and the name of the song. As always, I'd like to say thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to comment, like, subscribe or share the video link, and I hope to see you in my next video then.